Couple things. So I'm on page 139, 140. Few things just for you to consider. You can you can still come in and earn half your points back on this past quiz and the quiz before. Lots of you have been coming in, so good job. And plus, it's nice to be able to meet with you and hear some of your thought processes on those things. Party foul. You can grab some of that toilet paper.
Homework is slaying.
All right. So again, lots and lots of you have been coming in, earning half your points back. I praise you for it. It's still open. Just come see me, my officer 4678. But I'm on page 139. All right. So let's see. Oh, thanks, sir. Laura, homework done? Jacob, homework done?
Yeah.
Reed, homework done? Alex, homework done? All right, here we go. So problem number 1 says, in your own words, explain what correlation does not mean causation means without using words of correlation or causation. So it means that a relationship exists. It does not mean changing the x variable will affect the y. Change in x will change y. Something like that. Okay? That's basically it. Those were my words, not your words. Might be similar, slightly different. But that's what we got. And problem number 2 says, explain what a negative association means in the context of the above. It says a study in 2014 by Emory University entitled "The Relationship Between Marriage and Wedding Expenses" discover a significant negative association between the price paid of a wedding ring and the length of a marriage. Okay, so if we wanted this as negative association, this would be more you pay for ring, less marriage time. Something like that. Okay, that doesn't mean they were just asking if it was a negative association. That's what it would mean if we saw that. Remember, the negative associations are R value. If the R value is negative, it means our slope of the line is negative, things like that. Problem number 3, someone is on the verge of getting married and reads this article and decides that he'll increase his chances of a long marriage if he spends less on a ring. Explain why this logic is flawed. Ladies, marrying the guy who says, okay, I can get you the $25,000 ring or the $50 ring. Give me the rock. All right. So, problem number 3, correlation. So, your R value does not mean, change this to a better pen. That's not even better. Does not mean causation. So, guys, the cheaper the ring, it's not going to help you out in the marriage. All right. Sorry. And then, let's see. And then associations like this are great for providing ideas and theories. Do you have a theory as to why this is negative association exists? I don't know. Maybe if you have somebody who spends outside of their means, would create financial hardships during a marriage. Financial hardships during a marriage might put a little hiccups in the marriage. So things like that create stresses. The American dream is not to be in debt. I'd say the worldwide dream is not to be in debt. If you can live a debt-free life, it is a much better lifestyle. Let's see. On June 21st, 2016, an article entitled "Long Hours May Hurt Your Health," study says, was published in various news sources. Small sections of this article are printed below. Okay, it says people who habitually put a lot of long hours in for many years, even decades, are really running an increased risk of potentially seeing chronic disease later in life, said the study researcher Allard Demby. He's a professor of health services management and policy at a college of public health in Ohio State University. Well, there's your first problem. It came out of Ohio State. You can't believe any of that. Wait, I'm an Ohio State fan. I'm sorry. I can't slow down my speech much more for you. Let's see. The link between long work hours and disease seems to be present in men, but is tremendously more evident in women, said Demby. While the study cannot prove cause and effect, he said the associations were strong in women, and that was the cited source. The article on the previous page states that, so this is number 5, states correctly that the study cannot prove cause and effect. Does the tone of the article suggest any effect relationship? Explain your thinking. Yes, are really running in an increased risk. Sounds like a belief that reducing work will directly improve health. Okay. Later in the article, the following is presented. So they're just saying, are really running an increased risk. It's, that makes it sound like it's really bad. Okay, it's more of a belief. Later in the article, the following is presented. So what can we do to protect their health? Obviously, people need to work and pay their rent, Goldberg said. However, she tells women who work long hours to step back and take stock. Is there something they can cut out, perhaps doing less volunteer work until the workload on their job declines? That's a little sexist comment on her, but it is what it is. It came from that study. So do you believe this portion of the article is communicating cause and effect thinking? So cause and effect, yes, it would go with cause and effect. Advising women to take action and reduce stress is assuming cause and effect. Okay. Write a summary of this article that appropriately discusses the topic without introducing an effective language. Number 7, so you can say something on the lines of, although the relationship between working long hours and health is evident, more research needs to be done to understand the nature of this relationship. Okay? So working more hours, that person might be trying to make more money. Why are they trying to make more money? Well, they're in more debt, so they're trying to pay debt off, and then they're accumulating more and more debt because their longer hours aren't allowing them to go grocery shopping and prepare food at home, so they're eating out more, so it's increasing their debt, so they're working harder. Oh, it's not good. So, and then it says the data display comes from a website that finds funny and meaningless correlations. What cause and effect relationship is display hinting at? And I can't read this. Films Nicolas Cage appeared in. I guess those would be years. Well, I can't see what it's supposed to say, so I'd say the more films Nicolas Cage is in. Yeah, I can't read the rest of that diagram, so I don't know what they're really. Number of people who drowned by falling in a pool with films of Nicolas Cage. Oh, okay, so I could read that part. I can't read the chart, though. It appears the more films that Nicolas Cage appears in, the more people drown. So, what should we conclude? Nicolas Cage needs to quit making movies. Okay, I'm just kidding. He's fine, I'm sure. All right, so my friends, tomorrow, which is Friday, we have a quiz on 2-1 to 2-3. Is your half sheet done? Okay. Now, friends, if you have a highlighter or if you have something to jot stuff down, I'm just going to go back to the beginning of chapter 2, and I'm going to point out some things that kind of stuck out to me that might be seen on the quiz. So let's make sure we have our half sheets good to go. Okay. So page 29 is the first page I'm on. So it talks about scatter plots. And then scatter plots use bavariate. I can't even say that. Data. So I wouldn't worry. I would just know what a scatter plot is. Know that a scatter plot are points. So you have an X and a Y value for the most part. Okay. What was that? Someone step on a cat out there? All right. When you have a scatter plot, look for trends. That's important to know. Scatter plot. Be sure you label. Okay, label the X, label the Y, title it. Make sure you have the units. Okay, so if you're measuring, feet per second, make sure you have feet and then seconds. Don't just count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, let me know what it is. Scatter plots. The X value are the explanatory variables. And Y are the response. I think that would be important to know. Hint, hint. Hypothetical. And then on page 30, kind of know the difference between positive and negative association. That'd be important to know. So close to +1 is real good. Close to -1 is real good. Okay? If something is 0, there is no association. Okay, so your scatter plot might look something like this. Kind of goes all over the place. Just looks like you threw a fistful of mud at the garage door and like, oh, look, it's fun. So words like strong and weak are words that we would use. Strong meaning the closer to positive or -1, weak the closer to 0. And let's see, anything else we got there? Not that, not that. Now I'm on page 33. Page 33. Correlation is simple. So correlation is the R value. And you get this from Desmos. Remember, when you do Desmos, you hit the plus. You then hit the table. You plug in your X and Y's. It might be X1 and Y1. And then your next line down, the next box below that, you go Y1 tilde M X1 plus B. And this below, it'll tell you what M, B, R, and R squared are. You can ignore R squared for now, but it gives it to you regardless. In statistics, correlation is assigned a variable R. The correlation is always a number between -1 and +1 inclusive. The method of calculating correlation is complex and time-consuming, so we will be using Desmos. Positive linear means that it's, a positive linear correlation would be this, something like this. That's positive linear correlation. Look like this. That's negative linear correlation. Again, I'm saying correlation and R are the same thing. Page 34. Is there anything there that it's sticking out to me? You do not need to know the equation for calculating R. You're welcome. Correlation doesn't have any number or units of measure. It's just a number. And on page 35. So the big important one is correlation never by itself implies causation. Okay, that's probably the most important comment for the whole year. And then let's see, just running through the examples that they have. We did talk about the Harvard study. Okay, I'd say it would be good for you to read over the Harvard study on page 35 and the paragraphs after. Okay. And then the Minnesota study is probably important as well. I'd say if you have a read over those, it's good stuff. Those are both on page 35. Okay, cause and effect relationship. Okay, so we'll talk about that. Page 36, almost done, my friends. And then you have the opportunity to get sheet's all good to go. And so correlation is great for creating theories, but not proving them. Okay. There's something on page 36 that I want to make sure that I go over with you. Something called the Hawthorne effect. It's pretty simple. So the whole study above on page 35 talks about the improved working conditions at a factory. Okay. And they showed that it improved productivity. The unfortunate thing is they had a team of people that were, monitoring the people working after they implemented better working conditions. Okay? So did the working conditions improve? Did that create more productivity by the employees, or was being watched by somebody what caused the productivity to come up? It's called the Hawthorne effect. Okay. You ever do something in front of somebody so it made you look good, but if that person wasn't there, you wouldn't do it? Classic example. I'll watch one of our administrators walk down the hallway, and there might be a teacher walking down the hallway, and the teacher might see a scrap of paper on the floor and pick it up and throw it away. Now, did the teacher pick up that scrap of paper and throw it away because they felt, oh, the hallways are a little dirty, I'm just going to do a little bit of my part to make it good? Or did the teacher choose to do that because one of the bosses was watching? Okay, that's the Hawthorne effect. If you do something differently because somebody is watching, that's different. So the Hawthorne effect. Lots of you use your cell phones during my class. I know that. I'm not dumb. But if I had a camera in the corner of the room, which is illegal, but let's just say I had a camera in the room, and I said, a portion of your grade will be based on the less amount of time you are on your cell phone, and I will watch my class on the camera afterwards. Would you be more likely to put your phone away knowing your grade might be reflected because I'm going to watch the video later? Or if I said, hey, if I'm here and I don't know what's happening 4 or 3 seats back, would you be more likely to put your cell phone away if you knew you were being watched and that was directly relating to your score? Okay, or did your score come up because you were actually focused on the class versus your Snapchat? And I'm not trying to be critical, I'm just saying it's a real thing that could take place. So the Hawthorne effect is, are you going to behave differently because you're being monitored? Okay, think about how you might behave at a restaurant with you and all your friends versus your grandma sitting at the table with you at the restaurant. Two different behaviors. Agree? Okay. Grandma's watching. Okay, perhaps. I don't know. My grandma was pretty cool. I do miss her. Of all the people who have passed from my family, she's probably the one I miss the most, it seems like. She was a good person. And then I would definitely, so read over on page 36 and 37. And then on page 37 as well, they have the example that they give halfway down. It says, let's assume that research study found strong evidence, strong negative relationship between consumption of vegetables and cholesterol. So a poor way to rewrite that would be, a research study found that consuming vegetables is a good way to lower cholesterol. A better way to say it is a research study found that consuming vegetables might be a good way to lower cholesterol. Might is a pretty safe word. Okay? You know, you could say, well, it might. Does that mean it will? Well, it might. Well, are you sure? Well, it might. So it's kind of like a gray area word, but it's a good word in statistics to use because it's protecting you. The best way to say is you could say a study found that high amounts of vegetable consumption is linked in some way to lower cholesterol levels, but more research is needed to understand the nature of that link. Okay. The best way is real safe. It's boring. Let's face it, if you did some observations on a study and you are able to make a conclusion, you want your conclusion to be right. It happens all the time in education, my friends. Oh my gosh. Fortunately, you are at a school that is not based on knee-jerk reactions, but I have been at schools that knee-jerk reactions take place. When I was at Chaparral for 9 years. We had 6 different geometry books that we brought in and paid for. There was nothing wrong with the first book that we were using. It was like, oh, this is better. This is linked to standards. This is better. This is linked to Common Core. Oh, this is better. It's linked to this. And you're like, why do we keep changing books? We're dropping $150,000 each year to buy a new set of books. The publishers were happy with us. Publishers don't like us here. Why don't they like us here? We wrote our own books. Mr. Anderson wrote pretty much this entire book. I mean, I helped him edit it a little bit, but for the most part, this is his work. I think he did a nice job. Miles were one. I was involved in writing that book. We provide our books because we feel it's what's best for our kids. Now, here's the thing. We are the top producing academic high school in the state of Colorado. Are we the top producing because our students are better? Are we the best because our teachers are better? Are we the best because we have a lot of kids who have secondary outside sources of tutoring that they're getting? Well, I think you guys are great. I think you're better than any of the students I've taught in my whole career here at Creek. You know, this is my 4th high school. You guys are really good. What I'm amazed at, when I was at Chaparral and when I was back in Nevada, I was the best math teacher, hands down. I got here, I'm at the bottom of the curve. I mean, I don't get me wrong. I mean, there's some teachers I know that you like or dislike that you've had at this school in math, and that's fine. I mean, that's just personality. But there are things that I see our math teachers doing that I'm absolutely amazed that they are doing it. I've sat and watched Mr. Matashek teach his kids that are way smarter than I ever will be. I'm amazed by what he does. I've sat and I've watched Miss Lewis, I watched Mr. Mimak teach, I've watched who else have I watched in this department? I've watched Mr. LeFabre teach. I've watched Miss Schumann Smith teach. I watched Hoppert teach. I've watched Hamill teach. Those are all, and there's so many more. I'm just going through some of the ones that I had watched as teachers. Mr. Trollinger, who was here, he's now retired. I watched him teach. I thought he was absolutely incredible. I've watched Mr. Padovic teach. Mr. Padovic cracks me up because he looks like he just got done mowing the yard and he's teaching in shorts and a t-shirt. And a lot of people are like, he should be in a shirt and tie. My gosh, he's a darn incredible teacher. Now, I might have said teachers that you're like, I didn't really like that teacher. Well, if you didn't really like that teacher, does that mean that teacher was a bad teacher, or was it that your personality wasn't meshing with that teacher? Or, unfortunately, we as humans, we're all going to make mistakes. I can assure you I have said the wrong thing to people and shut them off real quick. But those are just a few things. So, do you know what you need to study for the quiz for tomorrow? You feel comfortable? Will you have a half sheet of paper for me, please?